Had to squeeze the trigger
So
twice
did you
there.
hit the button or did you?
I think we had a misfire the first round, so I had to squeeze off the trigger again. Let's get
Hey, well,
rid
I'll
of
tell
it.
you what. Let's do something. Let's just go straight to the intro right out of the gate. Let's not even talk. Let's just go straight to it.
Right to it. You want to do that? I don't even
Straight
get
to
to
it.
talk
Let's get
about
it
my
out of the.
ant
Let's get
killing.
it out of the way right now. No
Wow.
rat killing. Let's just get out of the way. We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about bad people. Oh, wait. Let me take that back. We're not going to talk about bad people. We're going to talk about evil in the world, evil in our community.
That sounds interesting. All right, well, yeah, let's go straight to the countdown. Here we go. Let's see. Let me hit the right button.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to bossierwatch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way, it was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't gonna do it. He'd soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico and buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups and all, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Yeah, I've only shared out to one deal. Wait.
Okay.
What is this?
Well, are we live?
Yes, we are still live. Look, we got 47 people. We got to be live somewhere.
Well, All right. So now that we got that out of the way, we can start checking as to whether or not we're on Twitter. And I have gotten a notice.
I know we're on YouTube and we're on Facebook. I've already checked those, although I've only shared out to one group tonight. So, folks, y'all help us out and make sure and share this. If you're in any, like the Benton Town Happenings page or whatever, or any of those groups, share out to them and, let people know that we're online. All right. So we do have something to celebrate today. Actually, we have more than one thing to celebrate today. But you know what is top on my list?
Well, I'm dying to know that there's something to celebrate because I am tired of all these freaking cowboys in Northwest Louisiana screwing up our local government and screwing over our people. So anyway, tell me something good because I want to hear it.
Yes. Jeff Landry signed the constitutional carry bill.
It's good. It is good. Yes.
It doesn't take for those watching, it does not take effect immediately. It takes effect by law July the 4th of this year. But he did sign the bill. So we join, 28 other states or something like that? I've lost count with constitutional carry. And I think we're going to talk about that some more maybe Thursday night and have a couple of guests on, if we can, Thursday night on Louisiana Watch.
Now, look, if people watching our show, they know that, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. I'm not. I mean, I'm just a regular guy, I think, with a little bit of common sense, maybe just a touch. But I got to tell you, I mean, why the hell should I be excited about something as simple as constitutional carry?
Well, I can give you a reason,
Second Amendment just tells me I can carry what the hell I want. Why do I have to have some other piece of freaking legislation passed by a bunch of jackwagons to say I can do what's already enshrined in the Constitution?
Let me give you some reasoning behind that. It's not so much that I'm all excited and giddy about being able to conceal carry. I mean, you could do that by saying Mother May I to the state and turning in, all your records for the past 40-something years or whatever and paying the fee and taking the training that teaches you nothing about how to handle or carry a weapon. Almost nothing. Let me rephrase that. What I am happy about is that by enacting constitutional carry, our legislature down in Baton Rouge, our benevolent overlords, and our new governor, whom so far I'm liking pretty good, and Jeff Landry, they have removed restrictions that have been placed on us. I would argue illegal and unconstitutional, but they have removed those strict restrictions. It's like a burden has finally been lifted off of our shoulders. And that's the way you need to think about this, folks. See, that's something to be happy about. And not only that, but SCOTUS told Colorado to go take a hike.
Well, SCOTUS did tell those bat crazy people in Colorado to go take a hike, which is the majority of Californians transplanted into Colorado trying to take over. But I still object to, we got to get another freaking law passed just so we can have what was already enshrined in a document that was perfect in the first place in our Constitution. We shouldn't have to have that crap. What's it going to be next? We got to have constitutional
free speech,
driver's license, or constitutional
free speech, constitutional practice of religion. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But look, Ryan Haygood says, I wish I hadn't paid for the lifetime license. Good point there. I bet you can't get your money back either, Ryan. No refunds, probably. All right. D.D. White Clark says, I don't have to provide the state any information to conceal a weapon. Well, legally you were supposed to. I would argue illegally, but now you don't. And, well, if you don't tell anybody, don't get caught. But that's in the past. As of July the 4th, Independence Day, you're good to go. In the state of Louisiana and also in the state of Texas, because they do recognize out of state as well, as long as you don't have felonies and, blah, 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 all that good stuff. All right. So enough on the Second Amendment tangent. We'll talk about that some more Thursday night on Louisiana Watch. So don't forget to join us there, folks. Thursday night, 7 p.m.
All right, so I was cutting folks off from having to hear Bo and our addition to our house, Orphan, from barking to death. But anyway, so hey, I think Thursday night, Rex, we may have the constitutional carry gurus. We've invited them both. Blake Miguez on the Senate side and Danny McCormick on the House side. I mean, those are the two gun guys in the legislature. And I think Thursday night, we have both of those guys ginned up to come on the show and, kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth. And while we were jabbering on, I mean, we're pushing 100 people. We're not quite there to 100 yet. We're getting there. But, I see you were putting comments up. A lot of folks, Dee White Clark, Ed Gonzalez. He said hi. I mean, I think that's Ed is your buddy.
Oh yeah, he is, and he is preacher at Linwood Baptist Church over there in Shreveport, and a proud carrier of firearms as well, and a overall good guy. We used to watch Duck Dynasty together. It was like a ritual every week watching Duck Dynasty. Okay, and we're getting reminded your concealed carry permit license is still useful for reciprocity in some states, but it depends on the state, so check your laws. Your mileage may vary depending on the state, but I checked Texas law, and full disclosure, I'm not a lawyer except on Facebook, but Texas has permitless carry, and they do recognize folks from out of state, so they don't differentiate between residents and non-residents on their permitless carry, otherwise known as constitutional carry. All right. So, what are we talking about tonight? I mean, I added stuff to the notes. You usually do the bulk of that. What the heck are we going to talk about? Any ideas?
Well, yeah. So, I apologize. I am messaging two legislators at the same time. Right.
Shame on you. You're doing the very thing that we were just making fun of for our favorite police juror for doing during the Charter Commission meeting.
You're right. You are absolutely right. I am being so inconsiderate. Okay, my wife, she can get back on me. I'm being inconsiderate. I'm going to take a snack right here on live because that's supposed to be offensive, right?
Right.
But
it's supposed to be.
Okay, here we go. So you did all the work on these notes. So to ask me what we're going to talk about tonight, already that that's just not true. Normally I do a lot of notes, but that is not the case today. This is your show and you're in the driver's seat.
That could be very dangerous. Well, we got a couple things that we're going to talk about, actually, and they're all pretty much related. The Charter Commission meeting, which I attended last night, was from... what was it, Colonel, if he's in the comments, about 6 o'clock till 8:28, nearly 8:30 or whatever. We're going to talk about Richard Ray. I was just about to give Richard Ray some compliments, and then I'm so glad that I didn't, because it would have come back to bite me in the rear end, because he got on his soapbox and, hence the name of our show, told Colonel Crockett that he was grossly incorrect about some information. And you and I were sitting in the same courtroom Richard Ray was, and the same courtroom that Colonel Crockett was, and Richard Ray tried to say that the colonel was grossly incorrect. And anyway, we'll get to that soundbite. And we're going to talk about cell phone logs, or the lack thereof, as the case may be.
Well, and I got to tell you, okay, so look, at the start here, I was talking about, bad people, and then I had to pull that back, and then I said evil, and I think I said evil people, and I need to take that back as well too. So I just need to clarify.
Maybe misguided.
I just need to say, because I think it's evil. I said cowboys in Northwest. Rex, do you know that we have the reputation of Northwest Louisiana, that we're just nothing but a bunch of cowboys up here, that we, nonchalantly just do what we want to do. We don't abide by the law. We're cowboys up here. We make our own law as we go along. And
we're just cowboys playing follow the leaders, because our leadership up here, in large part, sets the standard for not following the laws.
Yeah, but you and I are the head of the snake. We are the evil because we point out the discrepancies in what the cowboys tell the public. And we're right at 100 folks watching. Y'all hear it. You hear it. I'm just going to lay it out here why it is. There's a reason that we have 100 people watch our shows every week. The majority don't comment, and that's fine. The majority don't like our page, or they don't follow, like on the Facebook, because people may see it and they don't want the politics
to be associated with us,
to be associated or whatever. They don't, and I respect that. There's something to that. They don't need, some of their elected officials targeting them, or coming after them, or
surely they wouldn't do that. Like, if you're a citizen filing a lawsuit and you're the plaintiff being put on defense and potentially sanctioned by a judge for filing a lawsuit, surely they wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And, look, I don't know, maybe I'm different or whatever, but I got this thing that kind of and of course, if somebody says, hey, you know what, dude, you're a hypocrite, and they want to call me out, by all means, call me out. Let's go there. I'm fine with that. I will debate anybody on anything, even Mike Johnson. You want to go at it, Mike? Let's go at it publicly. But you know what? If when you're doing something, this is kind of the way I try to carry myself. If when you're doing something, you're making a decision and you're pursuing something, or you're taking an action, if it goes one of two ways. You either, one, you believe what you're doing is correct, and in your heart of hearts, it's correct, and you're chasing it and you're trying to do that, and if that's the case, then if it turns out in the end you're wrong, you know what? I think the good Lord's going to give you a pass. I think he is. But if you're chasing something and it's wrong, and you still continue to push something, that's not true, that's not in the best interest of everybody, or what it's supposed to be, and you continue to do it, I think you got something you're going to have to answer for in the end of your days.
I would very much tend to agree with you. I mean, Brother Ed can chime in there in the comments, but what's that deal called? Oh, the Bema seat. That's that little, I envision it as a park bench when you're sitting there trying to get in the pearly gates. You're going to have to answer for and explain a few things when you get up there.
Yeah, but I've heard it several times that we're the devil in disguise. We're the bad guys. We're the bad guys because we're pointing out the inconsistencies in what elected officials and people who are influencing, government and policy within our community and the direction things goes. We're the bad guys because we're pointing it out there, and the majority of it is bad. It's negative. And we just consistently are harping on negative crap. And we're the bad guys for
all right. So we have said from day one what the premise of the show is. If folks don't like it, they can just scroll on by. I mean, we appreciate everybody that watches and comments and likes and shares, even if you don't agree with us. But if you don't like it, number one, you can scroll on by. But it just goes to show you, because of the number of views and the hundreds of thousands that we've had on our videos, all organic so far. We've done no advertising up to this point of the show itself. It just shows you that people want to see the train wreck. They don't want to see the flower garden. I've said that I don't know how many times on the show. And look, here's the other deal. We said from the day one we were going to shine a light. So I'll warn folks that may have sensitive ears. You may want to plug your ears for just about 30 seconds. if these politicians and elected officials wouldn't do dumb shit, we wouldn't have to call them out. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and I want to go one more step here. So for the people, a lot of people just stand on the sidelines, and if you're scared, I understand that. I truly do understand that. But there's a lot of people that they don't have to stand on the sidelines. They can take a risk. They can step up. And to the people that do, hat tip to you. Hat tip to you. We need more people like that stepping up, on behalf of their community and the people who can't. But I will tell you, I truly believe it in my heart of hearts, Rex. There's a lot of people in our community, they don't step up and they don't say what needs to be said. They don't.
Well,
they sit on the sidelines and they would rather just sit back and watch other people make the sacrifices on their behalf and not step to the plate.
Look,
they own as much of the bad crap as the politicians doing it.
I agree, but here's the other thing you have to remember. In life, there are, and I'm going to keep this, and this may step on a few toes, there are two basic groups of people. There are leaders and there are followers. And it takes both groups. If you had all leaders, well, nothing would ever get done. If you had all followers, everything would be complete chaos. In our case, we're leading in the social media space and the podcasting space in calling this stuff out. We're not the first ones to ever do this. We're just the first ones around Bossier to do this and to do what we set out to do from day one, October the 6th of 2021, to shine a light on the inside politics and the good old boys network, as we all affectionately refer to it. We have, from day one, said this is what we were going to do, and we've lived up to it. Look, most of the people we talk about, I don't necessarily have anything personally against them. Doesn't mean I want to be friends with them necessarily. Doesn't mean I'll go out to dinner or have a beer with them because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that they do. But, we don't call people out personally unless you're a politician or a bureaucrat or something of that order. We don't just randomly pick people off the street and start calling out the dumb crap that they do. We don't. It's all about the politics to us. All right.
Yeah. So which politician and where are we going to go first tonight? Since we've got, I needed to get that off my chest. I just had to do it. I'll tell you, I've been stewing about it all day. I have. There's a few phone calls I got today, and it just it raked on me. It did. It still irritates to me, and I could sit here and I could rail about it all. I'm pumped up about it, but we gotta move on.
All right. So I'll give you a choice. Do we want to start going down the charter commission meeting? I honestly don't want to cover the whole meeting because we'll be here till probably dawn. But we do need to cover some of that charter commission meeting because there was some interesting stuff. Specifically, Richard Ray let his, as my grandmother used to say, let his mouth overload his ass a little bit. Which I've done on occasion as well, but he really did in a public way at that meeting last night. Shall we just jump to Richard Ray, get that over with, and then backtrack?
Let's go to it because it goes to right what we're saying.
All right, so let me get our screens situated here. So it'll take me just a second to do that, and we're just going to jump right in. Let's see here. Let me move this over here and move this over there and blah, blah, blah. And let's see what happens when I click the magic buttons here. Okay. So this is the Charter Commission meeting from last night. All right. So let me jump up to the, I'm going to jump up to the 123 mark. So this is, as we all know, one of our favorite people, Colonel Dave Crockett. He is talking about ethics and suits. As a matter of fact, I'm going to jump back a little bit. We'll just get his whole comment for context. And then we're going to jump right into Richard Ray and his little soapbox. So here we go.
Like I said, I had another comment about this section. I think one of the things that came up during the meetings that you had is that it's difficult to hold the council accountable. There were issues with ethics issues that may come before the city that I'm trying to look for the section in the charter, but there's a point in the charter, Richard, you may be able to help me, where there's a paragraph that says that any citizen can bring suit against somebody in the council.
I want to pause right there for just a second. Up until this point, Richard Ray had been very helpful. You know, there was lots of dialogue back and forth, but, you know, I would consider him pretty, I don't know what the right word is, but anyway, pretty helpful. He, you know, when people would get up and make comments or speak or whatever, he was doing his best to address them in a pretty even-handed way. Okay, so here we go.
There was some discussion in the council meetings. I think Mr. Johnson raised an issue about how do we address ethics issues, and I have thought about this, and one of the ways the city could do that is have a non-elected, appointed ethics committee that could bring, or that if a citizen brings up an ethics issue, that they could write it up in some way that maybe it would require the ethics committee to meet, that they would not be a paid position, but it might be, you know, esteemed people from the community that you could think through, and I'm going to think through it and write a proposal for it. But if you did that, that it would give the citizens something to complain about that may take things into an investigative process where the mayor or the city council could direct that that there be some sort of investigation that might preclude somebody from having to sue the city to go after an issue. And I'll give a quick example.
All right,
case
listen
that Mr. Ray brought up with the recent lawsuit. One of the city councilmen does not use his government phone for his government business, but he claimed that he could not go get his records, yet we know that you can go get Verizon records for 3 years, that if a complaint were filed, that maybe after you did your public records request, there would be a complaint process that maybe could have avoided a $15,000 lawsuit against the city. So it's just something to think about. There are other cities that have ethics.
All right, I'm going to stop it. So let's take that apart a little bit.
Colonel, you need to start playing at 1.5 times speed. Okay, I'm just saying, I love you to death, but you got to play at 1.5 times speed. That was a little, or maybe Rex was playing you slow. I don't know. But
no, that was normal. I could have put him on halftime speed, but you know. All right. So
I love you, Colonel, but look. So I gotta say, He I don't think the Colonel said something right.
Oh, where did he make a mistake? He
said, we know that Verizon keeps records for 3 years. How does he know how does he know that everybody knows that?
Well, hold on a minute. Actually, I gotta agree with, boy, shocker. I've got to agree with Richard Ray. Maybe the Colonel was grossly incorrect, because it's not 3 years, Duke. It's not 3 years. They don't keep those records for 3 years.
Wait a minute. You're telling me Colonel Crockett was wrong? He egregiously said 3 years, and he was wrong?
He was wrong. You know why? They keep them for 7 years. I will show you here in a minute. They keep them for 7 years, not 3, Colonel. You were wrong, Colonel. What you said was just grossly incorrect. You were wrong. It's 7 years, not 3.
Well, it looks like we agree with Richard Ray that the Colonel was grossly incorrect.
Yes.
we concur. So,
who would have thought I'd be agreeing with Richard Ray? And I say that with all snarkiness and pun intended.
Oh, the Colonel's getting technical. Apparently, he read some kind of government rules saying.
Well, that's a great segue, because we have a video here in a few minutes we're going to play to address that, Colonel Crockett. So you might get by with a pass on that. All right, but in all seriousness, so this apparently got Mr. Ray's dander up. Mike Lombardino says 7 is correct. Yes, I know it is. I'm going to show everybody literally Verizon's policy on it. So,
well, wait a minute now. If you're going to show 7, I mean, that sounds like we're fixing to have some contradictions from what Richard Ray says. But I think the Colonel said some other comments. He even talked about something about $15,000 and something like that.
well, he did, and let's listen to Richard Ray, and then we'll address that. How about that? Let's go ahead and break this up. Let's keep trudging forward here. I'm just going to hit play. Well, let's see. Actually, I'm going to jump up. All right, here we go.
I don't know. I didn't bring up any litigation, as Mr. Crockett alluded to, and a lot of what he just stated was factually grossly incorrect. Grossly incorrect. So,
well, I think if there's an issue of ethics, I mean, I think
I got to give kudos to Richard Ray because he did come up with the title of the show unwittingly. All right, here we go.
You can bring that up to the city council at any time. But now,
back it up with the ethics board, which is what they're there for already.
Isn't there a state ethics board?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe anyone has
I think you skipped
ability to.
You got to go back.
Oh no, he's coming to it. He didn't. He's getting on the soapbox here in about 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay.
File a complaint or request.
You'll see the Colonel walk back up there,
and they review that because all of the elected officials are subject to the ethics laws of the state of Louisiana. We don't have.
And that would be Amanda Nottingham
in our charter.
Well, wait a minute. Stop there.
Right,
Because I want to ask a question of Amanda. Is she saying that the ethics board, supersedes public information requests? Should people just file ethics complaints before filing public information requests?
That's a good question. What about when you file a public information request and the city still hasn't produced the call logs, thus the information?
Well, I mean, I wonder what they would should you just automatically file ethics board complaints if they're not in compliance with other laws in the state, or should you try to give them the benefit of the doubt? I think what they're saying is you shouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt. You should just file ethics complaints.
All right, so you need to remind me of this, Mr. Lowry, because I think I've got it in the queued up in the video here in a little while. But Richard Ray, they were talking about the councilman at large and moving to 2 divisions for the councilman at large seats. And Richard Ray says the city may not be in compliance with the law. I don't know if you saw that in the notes.
I did not. All
right, remind me about that once I get off this stupid David Montgomery Verizon cell phone record, because if you don't know, folks, that's who we're talking about. David Montgomery and Wes Marriott's lawsuit against the city to produce, basically, I'm greatly simplifying it, to produce those call logs. All right, here we go.
And I would just like to just make sure the record is clear. I'm not aware, Colonel Crockett, of any $15,000 lawsuit against the city. I am aware of a lawsuit that was brought against the city for a mandamus, and it has been heard by a judge, and it was deemed to be frivolous, it was deemed to be unwarranted, and it was dismissed, and the person that brought it was sanctioned for bringing that. I don't think he paid anything for his free lawyers from Tulane. There was nothing about, no, Colonel Crockett, this isn't going to be back and forth. You had your 3 minutes to speak. Now I'm gonna respond to it because you said things that factually were grossly incorrect. I didn't bring that litigation up, A. B, there was nothing about a $15,000 lawsuit against the city.
Cost the city $10,000.
C, there was nothing about Verizon records of a councilman for 3 years. What came out at trial?
All right, listen up.
That the person that brought that suit asked for records that were 19 months in the past, and what we learned at trial was you can easily get from Verizon records for 18 months. You can easily get AT&T records for 16 months, but you cannot go back 19 months easily. Now,
all right, I'm going to stop right there. Now, notice he's parsing his words carefully. He didn't say easily at the trial. We were sitting there. I don't recall him saying easily. He literally said that he went and sat in Montgomery's office with him, although he said he went to the conference room, and so I guess while David was attempting to log into his Verizon account or whatever, Richard Ray's sitting over there drinking coffee. Oh yeah, I'm just over here. Don't mind me, Richard Ray. I'm trying to get my call logs. Oh, I just can't do it, and I'm too stupid to know how to actually call Verizon customer support and get them because they retain them for 7 years. That is the difference. So I'm going to put on the screen right now. I think it'll overlay it.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, that was the Verizon policy thing there.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick it right on top of our replay screen. It says, this is straight from Verizon's page. I'll put the link in the comments of the show. You can go check it yourself. All right. How do I get a record of my talk, text, and data usage older than 18 months? The answer, contact us if you need mobile usage and billing history that's 18 months to 7 years. Charges may apply. They charge either a $5 or a $10 administrative fee to pull those records for you. They typically are going to snail mail them through the post office. So notice Richard Ray, now he's parsing his words because he knows that we've already checked on all this because we've already stated it before in previous shows. All right. Now he's parsing his words that you can't get it easily. It doesn't take much to actually call customer support. I'm on AT&T. AT&T does not publish their retention policy online. So I called AT&T customer service. I got put on hold, had to listen to elevator music for about 3 minutes. They came back with a response that if you need this, we will be glad to get it for you. Please specify the time frame that you're looking for, and we will mail it out to you. The process is not difficult. Any moron can do it.
Now I want you to go back. If you can go back, take that down. I mean, it's indisputable about what you can or can't get from your phone company. But I want you to go back to Richard Ray's comments when he was saying, a judge ruled that it was frivolous, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I want you to play what his words again. I want everybody to watch. I want y'all all to listen that if you or any of you need information from your local government, as it would pertain to something, that would affect you or your community, your effort to, get information from your government is frivolous was the word that just sticks in my head. But let's play it again, Rex.
All right, here we go.
I'm not aware, Colonel Crockett, of any $15,000 lawsuit against the city. I am aware of a lawsuit that was brought against the city for a mandamus, and it has been heard by a judge, and it was deemed to be frivolous, it was deemed to be unwarranted, and it was dismissed, and the person that brought it was sanctioned for bringing that.
Okay, stop.
Go ahead.
Frivolous and unwarranted. So if, for all of you watching, if a Bossier City councilman who is not using his government issued phone to conduct government business uses his personal phone to conduct business to influence, department heads and city employees to go after a business in Bossier City, allegedly, or to influence a process that has taken place regarding a business or to cause that business difficulties or whatever. We don't know, we believe, but if, you're trying to find this information out, but that councilman uses their private phone number to try to hide, their activities. And then, you seek to get those records and you go to court, and then someone, a judge in court determines that you trying to seek discovery for what is guaranteed in law, is frivolous and unwarranted. I mean, I'm just wondering, am I reading it wrong that people exercising their rights are being frivolous and causing problems for the government that they shouldn't be causing. And Rex, let me address this $15,000 thing. Rex, let me ask a question. When we were up there at the courthouse, did you hear anything about trying to seek damages and a monetary number?
No, nothing at all. He just wanted the records, is what I heard.
No. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about on the sanctions.
Wait, repeat that question again.
Do you remember hearing, because you and I sat there both days, wasn't there a monetary number floating around about trying to seek damages
Yeah, it was
for
10 grand.
sanctions? Yeah, it was 10 grand. But I think, there was an estimate. I remember hearing an estimate about $15,000. Well,
yeah, it was, let me be clear, it was $10,000 that the opposing attorneys for the defendants, remember, Wes Marriott was the plaintiff who basically got put in the defendant's position, okay? But the defendant's attorneys, which were the firm hired by the city and the firm hired by David Montgomery, with Richard Ray sitting there, they were wanting 10 grand in attorney's fees, plus whatever else there may be. So I would argue the colonel was not really that far off in saying $15,000 lawsuit. And Richard Ray knew that.
And Richard brought up at one of the previous council meetings, in fact, I think maybe it was the last council meeting or the one before, he's the one that brought up the litigation and to tell the council and report to the council and made comments. So for Richard to say that everything he said, is false, I got to tell you, grossly incorrect. No, I don't think he was incorrect. I think, in fact, the colonel was accurate on every single point. And everybody watching, you should know, and you should put yourself in the shoes if it was you and, you were seeking public information to protect your interest, and the law affords you the right to see all of these things. I mean, shouldn't your government be open and willing to produce the records for you to be able to protect your interest? Does that not matter to you?
And not just that. I mean, Richard Ray and the rest of them are famous. As a matter of fact, in this meeting, they were talking about the separation of powers in government, even on a local level in the judiciary branch. Well, Richard, you should know that this has not been fully adjudicated because there's an appeals process and then possibly the Louisiana Supreme Court if Wes wanted to take it that far. I don't know whether he is or not. I think he's got a pretty good case. So it ain't over yet, Richard Ray.
I mean, look, I hadn't talked to him, but we said it in our previous show and we showed the law, and there were people that got mad because they liked the judge. I like the judge, but it doesn't mean that I agree that she ruled correctly. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to say it. Rex, I don't freaking like you wearing that black shirt every show because it screws me because I can't never wear a black shirt. But you know what? Tonight I said I'm wearing a black shirt even when Rex wears his black shirt, and I don't care what Rex thinks. You know what? You're my friend, and I can disagree with you. Yeah. I don't believe the judge ruled right. I don't. Look, I still like her, and if she wants to break my plate, that's fine.
You can go back to our previous shows on this, and you can see where we both complimented Allie, our Judge Stahl, on her handling and demeanor in the courtroom. That we thought, I'm paraphrasing here, you can go back and watch the shows or pull the transcripts, but that we both thought that she handled, both sides fairly. We just don't agree with these shenanigans whatsoever. And for her to go along with the fact that, it was 19 months ago, so you can't get your call logs, is just horse crap. That's good old boys and girls at its finest.
But it goes back to, it goes back to what I said at the start of this show, Rex. If, everybody can make a mistake. And if you make a mistake and you had the best of intentions in the beginning, you know what? I think at the end of your days, you're going to get a pass. But if you know you're wrong and you continue to do it, that's when you're going to have problems at the end of your days.
Yeah, quit. If you're in a hole, quit digging. All right.
So now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's another frame here. So you're fixing to show where somebody's wrong. You're fixing to show where somebody's wrong. And so for over 100-something people watching, Rex is going to show you where what you have just heard is wrong. And I'm just wondering if these people, when they hear that they're wrong, I'm just wondering, will they publicly say, and will they correct the record? And will, and a lot of y'all watching, you're friends with people that we're talking about. I'm just wondering, will, y'all call upon them and say, hey, you're wrong. They showed that you're wrong. I mean, you can hate them, but I'm just wondering, are you going to do right? Are y'all going to call them out? Are you going to are you going to point out that they're wrong? You see the evidence here, or are you just going to bite your tongue and say, ooh, no, I'm just going to sit back and watch them call them out, and I'm not going to say anything, and nothing changes, and then hopefully it's not you the next time.
Yeah, I'm not like most of the lawyers who for the most part, I hate to say it, not all of them, but for the most part are pretty much snakes. I mean, they'll sit there and battle each other out in the courtroom and everything else, and then they shake hands in the elevator and go eat lunch together and have drinks. I don't understand that. But, all right, so shall we move on to the phone call that I made, Mr. Lowry?
I'm dying to hear this, but I think, and I will take responsibility, and I apologize to y'all. I've got us off on so many rabbit trails here tonight.
That's okay.
I think
usually me.
I think we might need to refocus, as to why there is any significance to this phone call that you're fixing to play.
Yeah, so I'm going to switch screens, not to the phone call yet. I'm going to switch screens over here. So, yeah, what would be the significance of it? Because what government agency is responsible for overseeing, let me say this correctly, the retention policies of all government, of the state government as well as the local entities?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, seems like I've heard a name recently of some government agency that people should call or talk to or whatever. I don't know.
Might be the Secretary of State's office. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, that one. That one too. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and I made a phone call, and let's go ahead and listen in to that phone call, and then we'll discuss that. So this is about 5 or 6 minutes, folks. Grab your popcorn, get ready. Here we go. And let's listen to the Secretary of State's office on retention policies. Yes, I'm trying to reach Amy Moran.
This is she.
Oh, hi, Amy. This is Rex Moncrief. I spoke to you last week. You may or may not remember. But I've got a question about retention policies for personal cell phones when used to conduct government business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd called last week in reference to the city of Bossier City, and you guys were gracious enough to send me their retention policy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I appreciate that, but I didn't see a retention policy for cell phones as far as the call logs and the text messages, and specifically if a government official chooses not to use their government issued, in this case city government issued cell phone, but they are using their personal phone to conduct city or government business. What is the usual policy on that sort of thing?
Okay, well, this is how we typically look at that, is that, okay, whether you're using your home email, your personal phone, or whatever, if you're conducting agency business, then that's considered a record. So it doesn't matter whether you use your personal cell phone or your work cell phone or however you created it. Now, as far as the retention, what we usually do, we don't, records are media neutral, the definition. So for us, we don't say like, oh, well, it's a text message. It's really like, what is the content of that information? And then that would follow that record series. So if they were talking, policy or something of that nature, then it would follow that on the retention schedule. Or if sometimes things are just transitory records, which transitory means it has little or no administrative value. And that would be something like how someone might text someone and say, hey, can you come to the back door, I forgot my security badge or something like that, some kind of random comment, that doesn't really mean anything other than that. As soon as someone comes and lets them through the door, that's it. You understand?
Sure.
That kind of okay. So for those kind of records, they can delete transitory at any time, and that's without our, they don't need to go through us or anything. But as far as, let's say, it's some kind of policy related decision or something. Now, in our records management training, which not all government employees come to, I mean, it is in Baton Rouge and not everyone makes it. But what we typically talk about there is that, if you do send something from a personal phone and you look at it and you realize, hey, this isn't really a transitory document, we kind of encourage people to take a screenshot and forward that to their work email.
Okay, and so, and I realize you may not have their retention policy or retention schedule in front of you, but I didn't really, or couldn't ascertain in the retention schedule what the policy was for those type of records, and specifically also the inbound and outbound call logs. So, in other words, here's the hypothetical scenario. A city councilman does not use his government-issued cell phone. He uses his personal to instruct department heads to go do various tasks, which I think would not be a transitory type record.
Right.
So what is the retention policy or timeline, or is there a law for them to keep those records? How far back?
If you cannot relate it to the retention schedule, I would refer you to revised statute 4436 that states that they should maintain it for 3 years. If you can, they're going to argue how it might go with, an item on the retention schedule. So there might be an item that they might relate a record to that's less than that, but 4436 says 3 years.
Okay.
Oh,
and just to
Richard,
be
are you
clear,
watching?
in the case of, say, again, in this I just won't beat around the bush. It's not a hypothetical. It's literally going on. If a city councilman is using his personal cell phone or email for that matter, then he or she becomes the custodian of records for those records, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're responsible if it's on their phone, yes.
And so the excuse of, it was 18 months ago, I don't know what my call logs are, when, for instance, Verizon, the cell phone provider, maintains call logs for 7 years, that really wouldn't be an excuse, correct?
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, as far as retention goes, the law does say 3 years if it's not on a retention schedule.
Okay, that is exactly what I needed to know. You have been a big help again. Thank you very much for the information.
Sure, no problem.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Rex,
Yes, sir.
I think you deceived her.
I deceived her?
I think you deceived her. You didn't tell her we were
Full
talking
of
about
all manners of evilness and deceit. How did I deceive her?
Well, because you didn't say, look, Richard Ray said that, to ask for this is frivolous and,
yeah, and
irrelevant.
it's not easy to get those records. Although I don't remember in the law they're saying anything about being easy or not.
But more importantly, you didn't say which Bossier City Councilman's records it was.
Oh,
You didn't tell them.
I should have.
Because if you'd have told them which one it was, see, you're getting like the Colonel. Absolutely grossly incorrect. Because if you'd have told them, you'd have said, we didn't know that it was King Montgomery. If we'd have known it was King Montgomery, we would have told you that, it's 18 months, because there's a separate section of law for him beyond everybody else.
Right. I forgot about that, Duke. Shame on. I should have called you to get my bullet points and talking points together before I called down there. Dadgum.
I know. I mean, but look, this is Bossier. I mean, this is the land of the cowboys. We make our own laws up here. And you know what? If we're buddies with those, or we get favors, or we are subject to them, I mean, we're too scared to speak up and say something. We just like mice go along and we look. Those two Bossier Watch guys are just evil, mean bastards, and we'll just talk bad about them.
All right, so. Yeah, Colonel Crockett brings up a good point. He says, no records responsive was an incomplete answer. Look, they still have not produced David Montgomery's call logs for the time period requested. As far as I know, now, Wes may be in the comments. He may or may not want to answer for legal reasons right now, but I can tell you, we're about to request those same call logs. Let's just push this as far as it'll go.
Oh, and I think, we have a request to the city of Bossier, and Ray, I mean, look, while you requested 30 days to provide us the records, the retention schedule for Bossier City, I mean, look, we've had it now for over a week, or maybe the couple of days after we requested it from Bossier City. We had it from the state, right, Rex?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to show that here in a second too.
But,
so,
I know it's taken Bossier. It's harder for them to get access to it than somebody else. Obviously, it's their record.
Now, I want to address a couple of things here. So we have been talking about call logs. That's inbound and outbound phone calls you make dialing your phone as a regular phone. There are certain call services that Verizon or AT&T or whoever your provider is would have no data if those calls would have no idea about if those calls are treated as data. So they could be using a third-party phone VoIP service type service. Verizon or AT&T would only see that as data. But even then, the government official is responsible for having access to those records. It is up to them as the custodian of their own record. Now, I want to jump to the side just for a moment. So stay with me, everybody, because we've got a couple of comments about text messages and all that in the comments. So this is a screenshot of my iPhone for iMessage. So I want to explain this. Let's put on our tech hats for a second, but I'll try to keep it simple. iMessage is different. If I send an iMessage from my iPhone to your iPhone, Duke, neither Verizon nor AT&T nor even the NSA can read those messages. Apple can't even read them. They are fully encrypted from iMessage to iMessage. That's the famous blue or green text in the text messages. Now, if I send an iMessage to a standard cell phone or to a non-iPhone, then it is SMS, standard old short messaging system, plain old text message. Those potentially are retained by Verizon and AT&T and easily sniffable by the NSA and everybody else that wants to look at them. I mean, the law enforcement can get that access actually relatively easy. But I want to show you. So she talked about training there, and you heard Richard Ray mentioned at the court hearing that he had attended a training session one time or something. Well, the problem is government officials need to make sure that their iPhones are set to keep their messages forever, at least during their term in office, because they are responsible for maintaining and keeping any text messages that may route through iMessage if they use an iPhone.
Whoa, hold up. Hold up.
Did I get too far into the tech weeds for you?
I have had all of this grossly incorrect information that I can take. I cannot take it anymore. You neglected to say that, only if all this crap you're saying applies if you're using the government phone. But if you choose as an elected official in Bossier City to not use your government phone and use your private phone to connect business, do apparently
business. Is there another set of laws for that?
Apparently there is.
There's
And,
a hidden set of laws that maybe it's Amy who is literally in charge of this, or one of the supervisors at the Secretary of State's office for records retentions. Is there a set of laws that she doesn't know about or didn't tell me about?
No, I think the city attorney's office in Bossier City has this other set of laws. And I mean, I guess we got to put a public information request in, which is frivolous and unwarranted in the assistant city attorney's eyes. Maybe we should just file an ethics complaint. That's what they all said. Y'all all are off the base.
Ethics board.
Public information. You need to file it with the ethics board.
Yeah, that worked out real well in the Robert Berry situation, by the way, and had to finally get the Attorney General's office involved in that whole deal. So it worked out really well there. I don't have much faith in them. But yeah, and your wife brings up a good point. Speaking ethics, if you are purposely and deliberately hiding your communications by any means, you are breaking the law. That is absolutely correct, Carol, which is the reason that I mentioned using other communications platforms. You are still responsible for keeping those messages. If I reach out to a government official through Facebook Messenger about something about policy or in the business of the government, you're responsible as the keeper of your records, the custodian of your records. If you're a government official, you're responsible for keeping up with that. She even mentioned taking a screenshot and sending a screenshot into the custodian, or, which would normally be in our case, the city attorney's office, sending a screenshot in to make sure that you keep track of those records.
So I'm just wondering, Rex, do y'all think that we are being abusive of your elected officials and their appointees to positions? Or, I mean, we're just saying what we understand to be the facts, but yet, it seems they are saying that the facts are something different. Even you even have and I'll take Richard Ray at his word that the judge deemed it frivolous and unwarranted, the case.
Look, I can't fault Richard Ray. He's a lawyer, and most lawyers are weasels. Not all of them, but most of them. I can't fault the city law firm, the two law firms that the city hired. I can't really fault them either. They're trying to win their case, their side of the case. So I can't fault them really for flipping the tables on Wes, turning Wes into the defendant. I can fault Judge Ali Aiello Stahl for going along with that horse crap of 18 months or 19 months it's not easily attainable. Again, unless there is a second set of laws we need to know about, there is no disclaimer for being easy or not in the statutes that we all have to follow if we're a government official. All right, so this is... all right, what are you laughing at?
Well,
all right, I'm on my soapbox. Let's take a side break here. Michael Ferris reminds us Trump is leading Super Tuesday. So in spite of all these shenanigans, just remember Trump is leading Super Tuesday. Okay.
And that matters why? Sorry, Ferris, I got to say this. That matters why? Because if you all going and voting on some stupid electronic machine that just regurgitates your vote into a Joe Biden vote, what does it freaking matter? It's not even auditable. And oh, by the way, you got to sue to be able to go through all of the records to even determine. And you're probably not going to win your suit because the judges ain't going to let you see all the ballots.
Oh, yeah, they mentioned that. Not just that, it's not free to file a lawsuit either, so that is a deterrent. Now, I want to show you, I've got pulled up on the screen here, for those of you that are listening to the audio version of this or watching on your phones and can't really read it. This is an email response. Well, it's the email you can kind of see at the bottom, a public information request that we sent in, and we requested, number one, the City of Bossier records retention policy. The City of Bossier's records retention policy. And number two, the training dates, or lack thereof, I'm being a little snarky, of all councilmen, mayor, and administrative personnel regarding the provisions of RS 44 as described in RS 4431.2. In other words, have you jackwagons, to use your word, done any training with this? Richard Ray's response is, please consider this as acknowledgement of your request to inspector copy records as outlined in your email. We are working on the response and estimate that it will take no longer than 30 days to provide a response. 30 days? All right.
And y'all should know now, Richard, this doesn't excuse you from providing us your version of the records retention policy, but you all should know we already submitted a request, to the state, and we already got a copy of the Bossier City records retention policy. We already got it, but we got to wait from the city 30 days. Why is that? If they have it, shouldn't they just produce it?
Yeah, shouldn't they?
Why would they not produce it?
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but not going to do it. All right.
But we're the bad guys.
Oh, yeah, we're the evil ones. The bad, yeah. Can't hang around with us. All right, so this is a copy that the Secretary of State's office so graciously sent me the following day. They needed all of 24 hours to pull this up. Now, I guess Richard Ray needs an extra, few weeks to be able to figure out whether they had training or not, or locate those missing records that maybe they don't need to fabricate because that would be illegal. No, won't give them that idea. All right. So here it is. Now, we're not going to go through all this. It's 58 pages long, but this is the records retention policy for the city of Bossier. I will post this on Bossier Watch for anybody that wants to peruse through the 58 pages of this, but I did scan through them. You can see it's got Amy Moran's signature, the excellent lady that I was speaking to. She's the one that signed off on this. And so, but nowhere in here did I really see an area that mentioned the call logs, inbound and outbound calls, and didn't really see anywhere that it mentioned the text messages. But like she said, they treat it all as data. That must be preserved, unless it's transitory.
Well, I mean, look, just like, Councilman Montgomery, King or Queen, whichever you prefer, said at that one council meeting, said in regards to the water line to the port, he said, we've had workshops. We've talked about this at nauseum. It almost seemed like he wanted to infer. We sent a public records request, got a response late, I might add, and to which the response was no responsive records to your request. Apparently he was having meetings with somebody, but it wasn't on any city stuff. I mean, he said it in an open meeting, but yet there's no meeting. Apparently.
What was the whole deal with Katie Bell and the Keene law firm? Oh, there's, they have, Queen David got up there and puffed his big chest out, and there was, and Jacobs and all that, there was, Wes is speaking out of town. Unconnected. Only they billed nearly high six figures in billing to the city, as it turns out.
And the only utterance of objection that Miss Bell ever made was to questioning of Councilman Montgomery about his personal business as it related to the Link Coleman case. That's the only objection she had. But she didn't represent Councilman Montgomery.
Oh, yeah. All right. So here's the deal. The point is that the city of Bossier City, and all government entities for that matter, need to have a data retention policy and training for all government people on retaining iMessages, text messages, call logs, and email if using personal equipment for government business. And I would argue, even if they're using government cell phones or iPhones, they still need to have that training. There is zero reason that they cannot have that training. They could provide it online if they wanted to.
So hypothetically, Rex, if any of you work at a business in Bossier or you own a business in Bossier and one of the councilmen has it out for you and they choose to call, one of the department heads, let's say it's fire inspection, let's say it's permits, let's say it's the police department, let's say it's MPC, let's say it's dog catchers, a councilman can just call those department heads and tell them, hey, go out to that business and write them a ticket or shut them down or find that employee and go after them. And all they have to do is they do it on their personal cell phone, and they don't have to worry about producing, their phone records or anything that could potentially be there that would incriminate them. They don't have to do it because the city attorney's office can't, make them follow the law. There's nothing enforceable. And if you seek to get that evidence, you know what? You're being frivolous and unwarranted.
Well,
That
as
is-
long as
that
as
is
long as it's
bogus.
out, as long as it's outside the easy period for AT&T and Verizon, according to Richard Ray. So let's go back. Now we just went through all that. We just went through that phone call with the Secretary of State's office. Now I want you to listen again one more time to Richard Ray.
I'm not aware, Colonel Crockett, of any $15,000 lawsuit against the city. I am aware of a lawsuit that was brought against the city for a mandamus, and it has been heard by a judge, and it was deemed to be frivolous, it was deemed to be unwarranted, and it was dismissed, and the person that brought it was sanctioned for bringing that. I don't think he paid anything for his free lawyers from Tulane. There was nothing about, no, Colonel Crockett, this isn't going to be back and forth. You had your 3 minutes to speak. Now I'm gonna respond to it because you said things that factually were grossly incorrect. I didn't bring that
Grossly
litigation up,
incorrect.
A. B, there was nothing about a $15,000 lawsuit against the city.
$10,000.
C, there was nothing about Verizon records of a councilman for 3 years. What came out at trial was that
Listen up.
the person that brought that suit asked for records that were 19 months in the past.
Aw.
And what we learned at trial was you can easily get from Verizon records for 18 months. You can easily get AT&T records for 16 months, but you cannot go back 19 months easily.
You heard what he just said. And by the way, at the trial, they never mentioned the AT&T records. Correct me if I'm wrong, Duke. At the trial, they never mentioned the AT&T records.
No,
you know the reason he's mentioned that now is because we've been alluding to it in the shows.
Yeah, well,
Period. There's no other. That was not mentioned at that trial. You and I sat there, and so did the Colonel. All right.
I was trying to go back in one of our old shows and find, and I was thinking of that movie. Y'all remember in the movie Tombstone when I can't remember his name. He was one of the cowboys and he was wearing a hat. He's like, "Listen here, Texas law man, law don't go around here. Texas
Yeah.
law man, law don't go around here." It's just like I'm having this.
Exactly.
I'm having this thought. This is what that part of that movie.
All right, so let me advance up just a little bit. Let's listen to Juliana. I think we had started on part of it with the State Ethics Board, and then we'll figure out where we want to go in the Charter Commission meeting from here.
And just to add a little bit to what Ms. Nottingham stated, there is the State Ethics Board that is there all the time. You can call and ask them questions. You can file complaints. They investigate. And they also require education every year. There are a lot of extra costs associated with redoing what's already been done at the state level, and so I don't think that would be something that I would recommend. Also, what if they conflict? Then you open yourself up for a bunch of litigation. It doesn't seem to me like it would be wise to reinvent the wheel on that.
Now, wait a minute.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me say this. Her two substantive inputs to this Charter Commission meeting were to remind everybody that she had excused herself from the town hall meetings and let everybody know she wasn't going to be there. And number two, she's against any further encroachments upon the ethics of the police, jury, and the city council. That's basically her two major inputs to this Charter Commission meeting.
No, she's suggesting that people should refer things to the Ethics Commission But then whenever at a Republican Parish Executive Committee meeting, a motion was made to submit something to the Ethics Commission regarding Councilman Montgomery, she didn't believe in casting false. What was it she said? I can't remember exactly.
False prophets. No.
Yeah. So now she's saying that people should, but then she was saying that a body representing people, Republicans in Bossier Parish, shouldn't.
Yeah, there's something about that cake and eat it too. I don't know. I want to point out something else.
Again, we're the bad guy. We're beating up on Juliana. We're beating up on people again. We're the bad guys. We got to back up, Greg. We can't be calling people out and beating people up. We got to.
I just want to point out something, and this is being a little petty, so I'm kind of go against what I said at the beginning of the show, but I was sitting there in that meeting. Colonel Crockett was sitting there. It was 2 hours and 37 minutes long of Charter Commission meeting. Juliana was on her phone more than me. Now, I don't know who she was texting or whatever, and honestly, none of my business. Maybe she was texting her family or something. I don't know. But she was on her phone way more than she was engaged in that meeting. It was ridiculous. Now, I don't know. Maybe she was texting David Montgomery or, I don't know who she was texting. It doesn't matter. But she was not fully engaged in that meeting.
Well, maybe she was saying, "Oh, you better hush." Somebody was texting her saying, "Oh, you better hush. You're going to be on Bossier Watch again." Or she was saying, "Screw those guys. We'll just accuse them of some other false accusation against me."
Yeah, maybe so. All right. So, man, there was so much stuff in this meeting. Oh, the compliance issue. That's what I wanted to jump back to. So hold on a second. I want to go to Colonel Crockett one more time because he did a shout out to Bossier Watch during the Charter Commission meeting, and this was in the context of requiring 5 votes for new bond issuances. So here we go.
Greg Bell read it the same way, or he's thinking the same way I'm thinking.
Well, okay, that is the same exact point you were making before the show. Got to give you credit, Duke.
Juliana, go to deleting everything. You need to clear your phone for that 2.5 hours. Everybody that's in your phone, you need to delete it.
If it's iMessage, you'll be safe. Now let me clarify. Unless you have iCloud backup turned on, Apple can get to the iCloud backups, which means they could get to your text history under court order or, of course, the NSA snooping around. So they can get to the backups because by default, to restore your backups, they have to be able to decrypt that data. So be aware of that. If you use iCloud backups, iMessage is not 100% secure in the backup process. So
are you trying to help Juliana there?
No, I was mainly referring to us. Would I try to help Juliana break the law? I wouldn't try to set her up like that.
I think you were trying to help Juliana.
Oh.
You're throwing her a bone.
I'm throwing her a bone to help her violate the law. I literally just showed you. The records retention policies.
What the heck's going on here? You can't wear black no more. You better have a pink shirt on next show.
I'm playing both sides of the fence, see? I'm trying to walk that barbed wire fence right down the middle of it. All right.
I don't know what kind of fence you're trying to play, but I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Jeff's. All right. So.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah. All right. We haven't either, Jeff. So we'll just talk about that later. All right. So let's get to Colonel Crockett throwing us a bone out there, throwing us some props. Again, in the context of having the charter require 5 votes for new bond issuances, a.k.a. debt. All right, but here we go.
This out to everybody. There was a new point paper, or not a point paper, but a graphic that was done by by Bossier Watch. It's on their website, and it shows the debt going from about 1990 to today, and it shows the seminal events in our city history that caused our debt to
I so would have
eventually
liked to
peak
have
out at
seen the camera the other way, and I could have seen Juliana. She's probably started gagging. Anybody there? Oh, you were there. I see you in the audience.
I was there.
Was she gagging?
Well, you remember the graphic from last week, right? The show graphic of the city council, the caricatures. It fit. AI got that to a T because that was her. She was scowling.
Oh God!
All right, I want to move into this part, and we'll kind of start maybe finishing up here, unless you got some more stuff you want to chat about. But they were talking about the at-large seats. We have two at-large councilmen, one of them being Chris Smith, the other one being David Montgomery, Queen David, as we affectionately not so much call him. And they're both considered councilmen for the entire city. They're at-large councilmen. Well, Richard Ray brought up the at-large seats, and I want you to listen carefully, very carefully, to what he said. And I want folks, y'all listen carefully and see if y'all pick up on this. So here we go. I'll get started right about here. Let me switch screens, and away we go.
On page 1 of chapter 3, the first is obviously term limits, and you essentially have 3 different choices. No changes, term limits with retroactivity, and term limits without retroactivity that would start in the future.
And I will be posting that entire document that he's referring to with the council and the mayor's suggested changes on Bossier Watch either tonight or tomorrow, so that way you won't be completely lost on that. All right, here we go. Listen carefully.
The other issue that we've not discussed yet, but it's noted in there, is to take the at-large districts, and rather than everyone in the at-large districts running against each other, to have 2 at-large seats, a Division A and a Division B, which is, I can't find another municipality in Louisiana that does it the way that we do it. Everyone else that I can find either has 1 at-large, or if they have multiple at-larges, they have divisions.
Right.
So what's your knee-jerk reaction to that, Mr. Lowry? And then we're going to get to the part that I really want you to pay attention to.
Well, I mean, it sounds like to me they're wanting to potentially divide up the at-larges to where it's not all in one race, but maybe in multiple races. That's my knee-jerk, but I'm bored with this, but hey, we can keep going with it.
All right, here we go. So I'm going to jump ahead just a couple of minutes. This was Miss Sandra. She asked the advantage, and listen to Richard's response.
This may be a question that I should understand, but I don't. What is the advantage of doing it that way?
Well, I think we'd be in compliance with the law by doing it that way.
Whoa, did you hear that? Did y'all catch that? Let me back up. Let's play it again, Sam.
So this may be a question that I should understand, but I don't. What is the advantage of doing it that way?
Well, I think we'd be in compliance with the law by doing it that way. A, and B, these are just suggestions that were made either by the council or by the mayor, and there's actually, to my knowledge, there's no disagreement between the council and the mayor on that. I don't have anything from anyone that says that they disagree, but to kind of play devil's advocate on that point, this has just been published, and there may be, like with Councilman Hammonds and Councilman Smith, they sent letters saying they've only had one change, it's term limits. And so they've not had an opportunity to review this, so I don't.
All right, so Greg Bell caught it. So currently not in compliance with the law, otherwise known as illegal. I mean, It's parsing words, but pretty much the same thing. If I'm speeding, I'm just not in compliance with that speed limit. I'm breaking the law.
Well, I'm thinking the items that we're not in compliance with the law with is getting a little detailed nowadays.
Well, but wait a minute. Think this even further. Who, I just mentioned before we started listening to this, who are the two at-large sitting city councilmen?
Well, Chris Smith and King Montgomery or Queen, whichever your flavor.
And if we're not in compliance with the law, what does that mean about those seats that they hold? Specifically, I'm obviously leaning more towards the direction of Queen David.
I don't know. It sounds to me like we got trouble in paradise down there, but trouble in paradise that we're recognizing at this time. And that is my first thought is why all of a sudden, if we haven't been in compliance with the law, are we all of a sudden worried about being in compliance and recognizing the law?
Good question. Okay.
5638. I want to go there.
5638.
Yeah.
The timestamp?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But one more quick thing here. So, yeah, let's listen up for just another second, then we'll go.
I don't know how they feel about it.
So, but go back to the part about it being legal. So the charter currently does not align with state laws, or what makes it illegal?
Well, I wouldn't say illegal, but I would say that it could be argued that the way we have it now is not in compliance with the law, and it's not.
That's lawyer speak for illegal, but I'm trying to cover my ass.
That was good, Richard. That was good, Richard.
Let's one more time.
You got to admit, he is the best water carrier I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, he's far better than Jacobs is. Listen to it one more time.
Back to the part about it being legal. So the charter currently does not align with state laws, or what makes it illegal?
Well, I wouldn't say illegal, but I would say that it could be argued that the way we have it now is not in compliance with the law, and it's not. Like I said, I can't find anyone. When this suggestion was made, I researched it, and
all right, I'll stop it there. And I want to do one more comment, and then we'll jump to the 56 mark because David Johnson has a good question here. Listen carefully.
To the way it is currently, and Divisions A and B, can we find out specifically, was it the mayor that wanted that changed, or was that the city council, or was it both? And the way it currently is, and the recommendation to go to A and D, was that the mayor's recommendation or the council's?
it was not a mayor's recommendation. It came from the council, but I wouldn't say that it came from all the council.
Came from all the council. There is one entity that just magically typed that up, right? See, there's another public information request.
How big was this document?
50, I don't know, 80, 70 something pages, I think.
Wow.
But you heard what he said. He wouldn't say which councilman. He said the council.
The council.
They got like a big AI machine now for that's just the city council, just a sentient being there that was like, oh, I don't think we're in compliance with the law. Send this over to Richard Ray. No, what city councilman, Richard Ray? We're worried about this.
Oh, did he? Well, I'm wondering how they communicated that to Queen David. Did they go down to his office and verbally tell him and hand it to him, or did they email it to him? And if so, obviously it wasn't on the city device, so.
Yeah, obviously not. But at least we know it'd be within the last 18 months, so, he could easily get it from Verizon if we requested it.
Easily, as Assistant City Attorney says.
Yeah. Easily. Okay, so you want to go back to the 5638 mark, which is the election dates and timelines, correct?
Yes, and the reason I want to go back then, we're winding this up, guys. I think probably this will be where we may end up concluding the show. And, this whole charter commission thing, I don't, whether y'all agree with us or whether you don't agree with us, I think you would agree that the whole reason that you have a charter commission in Bossier City now is because of term limits. It's because of the effort that a lot of us put forward, last year to get the petition and get term limits. That's the only reason a charter commission exists right now. So what is the purpose of this commission? People on the commission say, oh, well, that we're wanting to produce the best document for Bossier. We're wanting to produce better government in Bossier and all that. But I think this correspondence right here ought to be revealing to all of you. I think the dialogue that takes place here is going to enable you to be able to make your own decision as to whether or not this body and this effort is legitimate or not. I think you'll be able to have that answer here and come to your own conclusion.
All right, here we go.
Neither of our processes will beat the December, and our timeline is going to be the same as yours to get it through the council. But the council has the 30 days after we submit a certified petition. So we're going to, because we just started daylight savings time, you'll see a lot more movement with that. I don't think it'll take us more than two months maximum with the maximum effort.
But the reason I was asking that is that if I don't know your process of the petition, but you're saying you don't think you'll meet a December deadline.
No, I think we will absolutely be able to meet the same December ballot that you're talking about. So we will go before the same timing that you go through for the bond commission submittal. So we have to get ours done a little bit earlier than you probably do, because we have to get our petition done, certified from the registrar, and then to the council, and then they have 30 days to act. So we're going to be well ahead of you, and you'll know if we've gotten a petition done well before you probably submit yours.
Okay. The reason, Richard, that I was asking that is because I know that we've discussed term limits here, and that section that we're talking about now within the city council is talking about the issue of term limits. But we can make a recommendation from the charter commission, and I don't know what happens if it conflicts with the petition that's out there.
All right, so I want to pause it there for a second. Do y'all understand the point that they're driving at here?
Yeah, and where we're going here is, and the chairman, Preston Friedley, is he's driving at something, and he's trying to make a point here. And the question is talking about that if the Term Limits Coalition, in which we're a part of, that, we will get the signatures and we will have a petition resubmitted again, and you will have, assuming that the council and the Richard Ray or City Hall doesn't try to throw another wrench in it again, you will have a certified petition again. But what could happen, and this is the dialogue that's taking place, is this charter commission could put a product out that would be on the same ballot. So what happens if you have an amendment to completely overhaul or change the city charter of Bossier City, but then you also have a petition from the citizens of Bossier to put term limits into the city charter, and which way would that go? And that's what Preston Friedley is trying to delineate here. And the response that he ends up getting from Richard Ray, I think, is key for you to pay attention to in the words that he uses and what he says. So keep going, Rex.
Here we go.
The council take our recommendation and be voted on in December, or would it take the charter, the petition that the citizens are submitting? I don't know.
I don't either. I think what you're asking is way too theoretical right now. I don't know. You're asking me about things that I don't have.
Right.
So I don't know how to answer that question. I can tell you that I don't think there would ever be two competing charters on the same ballot.
Right.
But if there are two issues that are in conflict and they were on the same ballot, then whichever one receives the most votes is the one that
would be adopted. Yeah, I'm just saying, that's what I'm trying to get to as it relates to
whichever one receives the most votes.
Yeah, that's not the way that works. I think it would be, it's not like it's gonna be an either or. The way I imagine the scenario is the city charter as revised, if the charter commission makes recommendations to revise it, would be one issue, and it would be a yes or no vote. Do you wish to do this or not? And then another item, maybe not the second, but another item on the ballot would also be the petitions from the term limits coalition, and yes or no, do you support or approve these particular items from the petition? That's the way it would work. Not a yes or no in the petition versus the city charter and corresponding amendments. Does that make complete sense?
Yep. Well, keep playing. I mean, Richard Ray did make one. There were a couple of words he used there that but he said the words he said was we would not have two charter commission votes. You know, and he was talking about two separate charters. Y'all keep that in the back of your head.
All right, here we go.
I believe that this is an excellent thing to talk about. If this group does go forward with term limits, and if you agree with the version, I haven't read the 3 different options the city's given you on term limits. One is not doing anything, of course. But if those words are basically, if you'll review our petition for term limits, and you try, and it agrees with the 3 term limits, and that's one of the options that's in here. If we just make those words look the same, then it won't be in conflict, because if ours is approved, it'll be exactly imposing the same wording.
Well,
because well, let me just answer that.
Go ahead.
Because theoretically, if it competes too much, it may mean that the charter recommendations may be disapproved. So if, for instance, if in the end this group says we don't want term limits, they may vote. Sorry, I didn't know that was active.
He's tearing the place
They may
up.
vote down the charter issue, but vote for our thing, and then there wouldn't be any conflict.
Right.
But I would just recommend that one of the options, because I believe I read the words, and I think they're almost exactly the same.
Well, I mean, I guess I understand what Amanda's saying. For example, Let me just give you a theoretical. Let's just say the commission accepts term limits, but we decide that we want our term limits, that they would have a retroactive issue that any current city councilman that would like to run and be on there would be subjected to the term limit after a 12-year period. The only one that maybe differs, the charter petition may say to the council they'd like it to be exclude the issue of being inclusive of the. Right. So you could have those competing on the ballot, because ours would have to be on the ballot if we submitted it in that form to the city council, because they can't modify ours.
Yes, and
on the other extreme, I would say if the commission chose that they didn't want to vote on term limits and said, no, I'm fine, leave it as it is, that would be incorporated in the charter changes, and there would be a competing ballot dealing with term limits, correct?
I don't agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but.
Listen to Richard.
I mean, I would question, their petition is to amend the charter as it is today, and if it goes before the people then that would be the new charter, so would their petition
This
be
is important.
moot?
You couldn't have them on the same ballot.
Yeah, I mean.
Not the way you're suggesting.
I don't know if you could unscramble those eggs.
Yeah,
It'd be
but
very difficult.
you see where I'm coming from, Richard, is that we could recommend leaving the terms as they are. And that would be part of our recommendation for the charter.
Listen close to what Richard
But then
says.
again, if the petition comes along and says, I want to see term limits for 3 term limits, we'd be challenged with that.
Right, but what I think you're suggesting is that they're on the same ballot in December would be a new charter with that section left alone, and then Colonel Crockett's petition changes on the same ballot. You can't change that same charter at the same time.
2 ways.
In that way.
All right. Did y'all catch that?
So what he's proposing is that you've got a term limits petition to change a charter and a vote on a new charter that's separate and apart from the old charter. So if he's framing it up for you.
Yeah.
If you voted to make charter amendments for a new charter, whether you voted for or against term limits on its own on that other petition,
That wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. That would be something for the old charter. And if you voted for the new charter, then there wouldn't be term limits.
The new charter it is, if it hypothetically had no term limit changes in the new charter, but whatever other changes, well, that's what you get. He teed this up actually in the very first or second meeting.
Yeah,
because he mentioned that you're not voting. What's going to the ballot is not the proposed changes that you're voting on, like voting for an amendment to the Constitution or something to that effect. What's going to the ballot is the approval of a whole new charter that equals the old charter plus any revisions as suggested by the Charter Commission and approved by the City Council.
So what this should tell all of you is that the purpose of this charter committee was nothing but it was another card to play against term limits to beat it. The only way that what I just said can be proven to be false is if this charter commission adopts verbatim what the current proposed term limits with retro applied, if they adopt it and they submit it to the council. That would be the only way that I would agree that this council or this charter was put forward for only one purpose, and that was to be an impediment to term limits being adopted in the city charter of Bossier City.
Would agree. And let's wrap it up because that segues nicely into a final comment I want to play for tonight, and we'll start wrapping up. But y'all listen closely to this. So this is Leontine Fields, and this I think was the second time she spoke. I think she's Colonel, correct me, was she retired Navy or in the Navy or Air Force? I can't remember. But anyway, military.
So with the charter here, this commission, are you all looking at including term limits in here? Yes or no?
Yes.
You include, and you're
projecting. We're looking at that section, which could include changes to term limits.
Okay.
We are not required to do that any more than we are with any other section.
Okay, so if the answer is yes, would your verbiage of term limits, contents, and the verbiage here, will it be the same? Is there a way that you all could work together?
We
cannot say that because we have not discussed that.
Right.
Every member of this commission is going to have their say
That's
on
Lee
that
Jeter.
issue. And then what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to reach some compromise if that is going to go before the voters. And how that's going to look like is going to determine what we determine on this commission, what that's going to look like.
I got it, but I'm just saying, if possible, could we line up the verbiage to match? And the reason I say that, work for the verbiage to match, so if it's in the charter and it's on the ballot, I won't be going, what do they mean here and what do they mean there?
Right.
If it lines up, I'm just saying if it lines up.
I would say that as we make our final determinations
decision.
in June, that would be something that we could consider and would consider.
Okay.
All right. So there you go.
That's a pretty simple, straightforward request from somebody from the public, is just asking them to align the term limits petition and the verbiage in the term limits petition along with the amendments to the charter by the Charter Commission. And just because the Charter Commission puts it on there, it doesn't mean it's going to pass. Just give the people the opportunity to vote on it. Why is it so hard for these people to let the public just have a vote on it? Let them decide. Oh, I know, because there's people like you, Rex, out here deceiving people every day with this video and this audio. we're just deceiving people.
Yeah, I didn't make that up. I mean, it's straight from the phone call. Jessica Langley Maddox brings up a good point. She says, what everyone needs to understand is that if the councilmen don't like something in the charter, they bring up an ordinance to amend that. Well, that was actually discussed at that charter commission meeting. They'll be discussing it more at the next one, and we'll be talking about some of that, I'm quite sure, next week in reviewing that. But there's a lot more in that charter commission meeting to unpack. So
and look, so there's 100 people still here after all of this time of taking these beatings and torture from us, the bad guys. I mean, but look, this is your government. This is your community. I mean,
look, you see how many people were not in chairs there. If just 1/3 of the people watching this show had made it to that meeting. I mean, for goodness sakes, Juliana Parks made it to the meeting. Everybody could make it.
David Montgomery said in that private meeting that we put the recording out there, in that private meeting, he said, welcome to Shreveport. Well, I got to tell y'all, I watch the Shreveport Council meetings. Every freaking week, there is 10 times the amount of people showing up to Shreveport City Council meetings as there are in Bossier. People in Shreveport care more about their local government. I would contend their local government is more screwed up than Bossier's is. I think it is.
I would contend too, yeah.
But their public is over there fighting. In Bossier, there's not enough people fighting.
We need butts and seats. I mean, you and I usually don't have time to go to those meetings, and we've talked about it before. When I'm at them, I rarely speak because we have a platform every week, now twice a week, and I don't want to get up there and suck all the oxygen out of the room. We want everybody else to be able to get on your platform, which is at those meetings, and speak. I do want to mention one thing. If you haven't watched it already, we shared it out on Bossier Watch. Watch the Sobo Live video of Vince Maggio at the Charter Commission Town Hall meeting at the Bix Center, or whatever they call it, place. Very revealing as well. I was going to cue it up and play it for tonight, but we're wrapping up. So go ahead and go to Bossier Watch and click on that video. Wes put it out there and did the transcription and did a pretty good job of it. That's pretty revealing about Vince. It leaves no doubt where Vince stands, and I can tell you, he's not for term limits, as we suspected all along, of course.
Yeah, and look, we're going to get the signatures on this petition, but you know what? It don't take just a little bit for you to gather a few signatures and put your name on the line and say, you know what? I did that. Guys, it don't get any easier for you to lay claim and to say, I was a part of that. It's not going to get any easier.
What's the legal number? 2,900, give or take a little, or somewhere around there?
It's actually about 2,700, but okay. I mean, the last time I think we went ahead and we collected 3,300 because we anticipated, that there would be rejections to a certain percentage.
It's easy math. If let's see, if 270 people got 10 signatures, that'd be 2,700. If 27 people got 100 signatures.
And they don't even have to do that because we're already a third of the way there.
Yeah. So it's even less than that if my Rustin math is correct this evening as I'm kind of winding down here. So
it ain't even about the math, Rex. It's not even about that. Just all of the folks watching the show, I just want to see people step up to the plate and be proactive. That's all I want to see. I don't care if you get 1 signature or you get 100 signatures. I just want to see people in their community
make the effort,
care about their community, and make the effort, because a small minority of people pull the load. A small minority of people pull the load, and the rest just watch.
And here's one of them right here in the comments. Cassie Rogers, she says, personal message her, and she will bring you the term limits petition for you to sign. Just let her know. Send her a message via Facebook. She's one of the people that is helping to carry the load for the rest of us.
You better believe it. Thank you, Cassie.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Lauer. Look, folks, Duke and I, we've kind of been hitting around about this. We're fixing to try to do this more and more full time, so we need all the help we can get, and that does mean a little bit of financial support. So if you can donate some coffee money or buy a coffee mug, go to bossierwatch.org. You can do it there. Just like and share stuff out. That helps us also. And if you have any information you want to send us, Bossier Watch at Proton Mail. Make your own free Proton Mail account. No identifying information. If you want to keep anonymous, send that to us. We do read stuff and get a lot of tips and leads in from Proton Mail. So, if you know an advertiser or somebody that wants to help sponsor the show, like the Ferrises at Pelican Training, or of course Duke and Kara over at Acadiana Mortgage, then let them know. We're going to put together some advertising rates and all that sort of thing, and see if we can, turn this into a little venture and spend some more time. Also, you're right, Colonel Crockett. Go to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe on YouTube. We need about 150 more subscribers on YouTube, and we actually get monetized on YouTube, which means Duke and I can dedicate more time to putting out this good content. And Duke is pretty much, for some reason, checked out of Bossier Watch early tonight. So I guess I'll just wrap it up. And thank everybody for watching the show. Thank you for all the comments. Stay tuned. We will be here every Tuesday night, and join us Thursday night at 7 p.m. for Louisiana Watch, because we're spinning that one back up too. We've already had some good guests. Y'all have a good evening. See you Thursday and next Tuesday.